Hey everybody, welcome back to the RPG Daily. This is the first episode of the new show we're doing, Game Masters Craft. This is an interview show. I'm bringing in dungeon masters and game masters from all areas, all types of games. We're going to talk to them and find out what makes them tick. Hopefully, this is the first episode, so hopefully this goes well. We have a guest here today. It's Arthur Wright. But first, the little title bump, as I always do. All right, now you are on screen now, Arthur.
Oh, sweet.
This is Arthur Wright, everybody, a.k.a. the Arthur of Gaming. Why don't you just tell him what you do?
All right, so I'm the Arthur of Gaming. I have a pretty good Instagram feed going, and also a YouTube channel, the Arthur of Gaming, where I put up some videos here and there about various things. I'm a dungeon master for a show called Riverbreak on Twitch, twitch.tv/vorpalboard, which is the software package that I use. And we do a show called Riverbreak. That's this Wednesday is our next episode at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We stream every 2 weeks. We have some pretty big names. We have like Ember Moon from the WWE plays with us. Chris Sims, who, if you're any legacy to D&D at all, you know he's written a bunch of books and stuff for that. Inked Mage on Instagram and Brianna Flame on Instagram are my 5 players. We're deep into a campaign. It's going pretty darn good, and that's kind of what I do.
That is
for the most part
a lineup. I do have the links in the description for your YouTube, for the Vorpal board, because I looked up Riverbreak. But that's
awesome.
actually what I want to talk to you about is Riverbreak.
Yeah.
Because that's your own world, right?
Yes.
That you've created, and that's a big thing.
Correct.
That I think a lot of dungeon masters and game masters they want to get into, but it seems like a hurdle sometimes. First let me ask, how did you get into role-playing games, and how quickly after that did you start running your own games?
So I've been playing Dungeons & Dragons for about 37 years. So I've been playing since about 1981 or so. I moved to a new school when I was about 10, 11 years old. And when I moved to the new school, I met some new friends, and one of my friends happened to be a Dungeons & Dragons player. And we played with the basic set from way back when, so we started with basic set and expert set and ended up in first edition Dungeons & Dragons, etc. One of the neatest things actually was, do you know the Monopoly game for Mickey D's when they do Monopoly? In the early 80s, I got Baltic and Mediterranean, which at the time was like $25 or something, or $30 or something like that. And that's what I bought my first Advanced Dungeons & Dragons player's handbook with. Was with that. So that's kind of how I got started with that edition anyway.
So something good did come out of the McDonald's Monopoly.
It's the only thing I've ever won besides food was that one that was like $25, and that was enough to buy me my first book. So
nice. And so that was your start, was in the 80s.
That was my start.
So correct me if I'm wrong, you basically went through the Satanic Panic, or was that after?
Oh yeah, no,
Yeah.
I did. I went through and actually, funny you bring it up. Actually, I have a presentation that I did locally for a group. I put together a presentation about the Satanic Panic actually, and I was supposed to do it again in Salem, Massachusetts.
Oh.
I was supposed to do it April 13th, Friday, April 13th. I was going to do it again, and then the pandemic happened, and I wasn't able to go do it again. But yeah, but I have a whole presentation about it to give like background on the Satanic Panic, some of my own personal views or personal experiences during the Satanic Panic, and afterwards. I've had some weird crap happen because of Dungeons & Dragons after that panic time too, and just kind of stuff like. And I did a little bit with I talked to Luke Gygax on the phone one day and got some anecdotes from him about his time, because him and I are about the same age. So during the Satanic Panic, he was like 11, 12, 13 years old. So I kind of talked to him and found out like what kind of stuff he went through, and talked to him about his dad a little bit and that sort of thing.
Yeah. Wow. I did not. I'm a little too young for that.
Yeah.
Got into the game much later, but I know a lot of people have a lot of interesting stories. So I'm going to suggest you should just do the presentation on a video and put it on your YouTube channel.
I was thinking about that actually. I was seriously considering doing that and putting it up on my YouTube channel.
That'd be fun. I would enjoy watching it, because I enjoy seeing the history, things like that, or the Secrets of Blackmore documentary that was made was really interesting. Seeing that kind of stuff about this game that I did not see the beginning of. To me, that's fascinating. I think a lot of people would find that really interesting.
Yeah, and it's crazy. I mean, it really is just when you get into the whole the satanic panic part, it's really some of the things that they attributed to the satanic panic are just insane. Like really just so super far stretched out there. You know, it's things like, you know, because the person had a D&D book and they did something bad, they must have been Dungeons and Dragons, right? Like
Right.
kind of things like that you're just like, what? You know, just crazy
Wow.
stuff.
That's crazy. So,
Yeah.
having lived through that, when did you actually start running your own games? How long did it take you? I'm guessing it was pretty early on.
Yeah, I think from the pretty much, I think my friend Phil, he ran our first games for a little while. He's the one that got me into it. And I actually talk about him in my Satanic Panic presentation, actually. He got me into it. I think he ran the first bit for a little while, but then we all started. I mean, there was for a while when I was in high school, we had a long running game that I think went like 5 years or so.
Oh, wow.
And you know, we were a bunch of big nerds sitting around it on the weekends playing Dungeons and Dragons. We were the typical, like, if you want to know, we were a bunch of nerdy white boys sitting in my bedroom. It was always at my house. Like 6, 8 of us playing Dungeons and Dragons. It wasn't in the basement, but it was in my bedroom. And we would play from Friday night till Sunday night straight. Literally straight. And if you fell asleep, your characters just went to sleep. And then we would have like, and then another DM would pick up if that DM wanted to go to bed, and we would just keep playing this. It was insane. And we played for a very long time.
That sounds like a good time.
Oh, it was great.
I don't think I've ever done that much D&D in one sitting before. That's pretty wild.
Well, you know, we were a bunch of nerdy white kids that girls weren't talking to, so
Right.
we might as well hang out with each other playing Dungeons and Dragons. So it was fine.
So instead you go fight dragons and, you know, shoot
Exactly.
arrows at things in your imagination.
Exactly.
Which sounds like a great time. So going through that, you grew up. We could say you grew up in the game then.
Yes, absolutely.
Was Riverbreak your first homebrew world, or was this just another in a long line of world building that you've done?
I think it's probably the most expansive homebrew world I've ever done. You know, I think there was always kind of other, I mean, I played a lot in like Forgotten Realms and that sort of stuff, but we would do some of our own stuff. Like for 4th edition, we kind of played the Nentir Vale, if you remember that from 4th edition. There was this one section in the book. Yeah. It was like one section in the book, and we kind of took the map and we used that map, but then we pretty much, you know, I was running that game. My wife was playing, and she was like the princess, and we kind of we did like some kingdom building from if you know, like the ultimate campaign book from Pathfinder.
Yeah.
We used that in D&D to actually do some kingdom building and stuff. So we kind of used like the map for the Nentir Vale, but we really weren't using the Nentir Vale. We were just playing whatever. So, but I think as far as the most expansive from the base building of a campaign world, so to speak, Riverbreak's been the most I've done.
Nice. And how has that process been? Like, I guess the real question is, what has been your biggest challenge with Riverbreak? What really, what's the biggest challenge? I guess that's the best way to put it.
Time.
Okay.
Time's always the biggest challenge, right? I mean, that's everybody's biggest challenge for everything. I mean, my wife helps me write. She's a big gamer as well. She's awesome. Her and she kind of keeps me grounded on a lot of things, because I come up with these wacky, crazy ideas, and she's like, "But why would they do that?" And I'm like, "Stop asking really good questions. Just because they do it.
Yeah.
Stop asking very good questions.
They don't need reasons.
They don't need reasons. It just happens, you know." And then so she kind of pulls me out of the clouds quite often, actually, to tell you the truth. But it's good to have a partner to, like, we just bounce ideas off. You know, one of us will come up with, like, we're writing for Wednesday's show of Riverbreak. So whereas we've written a lot for Riverbreak, with my campaign that I'm doing, she helps me write the campaign as well. And so as we're doing the campaign, that leads to Riverbreak stuff as well, because all of a sudden, like, oh, well, what if we had this group of people that did this? And then we'll be like, okay, cool. And then so we start bouncing ideas back and forth off each other. So it's been great, because, well, my wife and I like each other a lot, so we like spending time with each other. Up until the pandemic, we were going to like Chili's to do like Chili's dates, and we'd sit there with like a tablet and we'd write and eat while we were doing it.
Oh, wow.
But, you know, come up with just good ideas of stuff, and it's been fun to do. It's really been a good labor of love. It's been pretty darn cool.
That sounds great. And So you're doing that with Vorpal board,
Correct.
which I only experienced that a couple weeks ago when we did the virtual GaryCon. That was my first experience with that. It seemed very simple.
It's great.
Pretty straightforward kind of system. I'm curious, once it launches and is actually out there for people to buy, I'm going to check it out.
Yeah, you should. I mean, for anybody that's watching and paying attention, like it really is, the login is simple. You know, you go to a web page, you log in. There's no downloading of software, none of that kind of stuff. As far as video conferencing applications, it's been the best I've ever used. In my homebrew game or my home game on Friday nights, we went through all sorts of software to try and get we have a friend from Baltimore that I'm in upstate New York. Friend from Baltimore that would play, and a friend from way upstate New York, a couple hours away, he would play with us as well. And when we started using Vortboard, they were like, "Oh, I don't know what my mini looks like. I've never been able to see it before." And now all of a sudden they could see their mini, right?
See their mini,
and they could. And then one of the funny comments was, we were at my buddy's house, and what we were doing before was a webcam on the ceiling pointed straight down at the table, and then with Vorpal board you use your cell phone. Right? You take your cell phone, you attach it, you put an app on it. The app streams basically to Vorpal board for you, and your phone does the work, as far as like an extra camera. And they were, for the first time, they were like, "Oh, there's squares on the table." You know, like they couldn't even tell that the big white map had squares on it. Like, so now. Wow. Like Vorpal did a great job with that. And besides D&D, it's great for board games. I mean, that's what they kind of designed it for. Was so you could play, you know, I could break out my version of Carcassonne and you and I could play. You could be wherever in the world you want. You and I could play Carcassonne with each other. So it's a great software. I really, the guys are awesome. I've met all of them and they're really cool guys to deal with. And it really does an awesome job, especially if you use terrain. So I use 3D terrain a lot. I use Dwarven Forge terrain mostly. And the Vortboard makes it great for my players to see the terrain and be able to show where they want to move on the terrain and stuff. So
nice. That is good to know.
Yeah.
Depending on how long this lockdown carries on.
Yeah.
Might come in handy.
Yeah.
You had said something. Oh, here's the question that you reminded me of. Your Instagram is a lot of board games.
Yes.
So I take it you love board games.
I do.
Has your board game playing influenced your dungeon mastering in any way? And if so, how?
I don't think so. I mean, maybe a little bit depending on like maybe things like Gloomhaven.
Yeah.
Right. That might be one. Like we played that a bit. We were just talking about that today about getting back to playing it because we kind of unlocked everything for Gloomhaven but never finished. So we were like, maybe we should get back to playing it. Maybe that kind of stuff, but I don't think in general. No. They're so drastically different.
That's
for the most part. I've often thought about whether you could take something like a board game and then create like a map off of it, like maybe Carcassonne, and then build like some sort of a map that you could play on. Or I'm trying to think, there was another game I was trying to think of. I can't think what it is now. There was a game I thought about where you could play and then kind of use that as like a start to play a D&D game with, but now I can't think of what it is. But yeah, I mean, I've thought about it a little bit. I don't know whether maybe I'm just not smart enough to figure out how to roll it over.
I'm sure you'll figure it out.
Maybe.
No, that was just a thought because I know when I play board games, I usually try to see something there. I get really into mechanics minded.
Right.
That's what I do a lot. Oh man, 1 second. The stream never was posted as public until right now.
Oh shoot!
I was like, no one is here, and now I look.
Do you want to start?
No, people can catch up. It is there recorded, but it just YouTube just never pushed it live when I told it to. That's okay though. We carry on.
Carry on.
First episode of this, we're figuring it out. That's never happened to me with YouTube streaming before, but the software changed its interface lately, so I think that might have done it to me.
Yeah.
Either way. All right. Back to Riverbreak, because I know I just see Riverbreak as like everything I see posting with you about is something Riverbreak related. Tell me about the world. What have you created? What are you most proud of? What are you least proud of? Like, what is Riverbreak?
So Riverbreak, so I dungeon mastered for Rollout on the Up Up Down Down channel. Rollout season 1 and 2, I was the dungeon master, and that's where I went on and played D&D with WWE superstars. So I played with the first season was Tyler Breeze, Brennan Williams, Ember Moon, and Austin Creed, or
Okay.
Xavier Woods. Xavier Woods. And then second season we added in Lexa Bliss and Aiden English were my, so I had 6 on my second season. And so when I was getting into that, the producer for the show and I had been talking, and they had found some survey about streaming like Dungeons and Dragons on the internet, that like 3,000 people had taken this survey, and like what they had liked about what they liked and didn't like. So they liked homebrew worlds. They didn't want to see people play, Secrets of Saltmarsh.
Right.
They didn't want to see a module that they'd already seen. They wanted something homebrew. They didn't like to see players fighting each other. Like there was a whole thing. So when that happened, we were like, okay, well now we got to kind of come up with our own thing.
Mm-hmm.
I had found a map online that I really liked.
Okay.
And that kind of what gave me the idea for Riverbreak in general. It was a map of a city with 2 rivers coming into it. So I looked at that and I was like, oh, I like the way this map goes. So I ended up, thanks to Rollout, Rollout kind of started most of this, because I didn't even have an Instagram until I did Rollout. And then we're at the first day of shooting for Rollout, and all the superstars are like taking pictures and posting it to their Instagram. They're like, oh, dude, what's your Instagram so we can tag you? And I'm like, I don't have one. Like, make one right now. So I made one and got started. But so because of Rollout, I got in touch with a guy who made my map of Rollout or Riverbreak, which is just awesome. And so I got to work with him to really tailor it a little bit, and hone it and make it look more like I wanted it to. For those making their own world out there who find it to be encumbering, I started with my city. Right, I started my world that I have made up pretty much right now is a city on an island, and that's it. There's no world. I've not gotten that far yet. I don't know if there ever will be. I mean, my initial thought was maybe to write a book at some point in time about Riverbreak and make it like where you could drop it in anywhere. Right.
Okay.
You have this city on this island, which is pretty much desolate. Well, there's like some small villages for like elven villages and stuff, but pretty much its own thing. You could just drop in the middle of an ocean anywhere in your world and use it if you wanted to. So maybe I'll do that at some point in time. But yeah, so I've been really focusing on one area. I don't know about a whole world, might be tough,
So I guess then, so most of your campaign just takes place in this city and the surrounding area on this island?
At the moment, correct.
Okay. What tier is the game? Just out of curiosity, what kind of tier are you guys at right now?
Right now, Riverbreak, I think everybody's level 5.
Oh, okay.
So we started at level 1. We're only like 8 episodes in.
Oh.
So we started in like February. We go like every 2 weeks. No, we started in January, middle of January, I think it was. And we play every two weeks. So I think we're about level 5 right now. They'll probably be hitting level 6 relatively soon.
Okay. Very cool.
I kind of break it up into seasons, like 5-episode seasons, to kind of have a little bit of a story arc feel to it. And so they're in the middle of season 2 right now.
Okay, so did 5 episodes take a little? Did you guys take a little break, or did you just go?
Well, actually, we did take a break last week, but only because of like coronavirus stuff going on. Like half our people were having issues getting there because of the craziness in the world right now. So we were supposed to stream last week, but we're going to stream 2 weeks in a row and just get caught back up.
So with your city, then, what makes it unique, if anything? Like what is special about it for you, in your opinion?
Right. So my idea behind Riverbreak was it is the place where all the magic, the spellcasters are trained in the world. So they have lots of schools and temples and that sort of thing. Geographically, not geographically. I'm trying to think, like terrain wise, it's very different. Half of the city is on top of a 200-foot cliff, and the other half is kind of like down by the bay. There's a place called the Hive, which is a big bridge that spans over a river, and it's kind of like the slums. It's like the city, right?
Yeah.
It's like the real dense city portion. Like if you took like a couple blocks of New York City and dropped them into a medieval city, that's where all the poor people live, and it's very dense in population. But we've written a lot of archetypes or subclasses basically we've written one for each class. And kind of we have like a bunch of districts in the city, and kind of each class has its own spot where we've kind of come up with an archetype that we want to be. Like we have a group of paladins that guard the Enlightenment, which is where all the spellcasters are trained, right? The druids, the clerics, the wizards are all trained in this area. And they're this group of paladins which have arcane magic as well as some holy magic as well. So they kind of bridge the divine arcane, and they're like the guards for that area are all these paladins. So that kind of thing that we've kind of come up with.
And that's not a small task. Making a subclass, it's takes some work. So
it does. Well, actually, that's what I'm going to do soon. Actually, last week I kind of came up with the idea. I don't have really good solid mechanics for these because that's not anything I've let my players do yet. It's just kind of an overall idea, and NPCs have been using these subclasses, so to speak. So I think I'm going to do a series of videos coming up soon where I'm going to get together with people like you and write a subclass. Like get like 2 or 3 people with me. We all get together, do a video, and maybe do it live so that people can chime in with us and create a subclass based on the idea that I have.
Yeah, interesting.
Which I thought might be kind of fun.
Yeah,
I thought it might be.
That's really neat. So, looking at it, we're hitting about 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Not a lot of viewers. That's okay. That's expected. But I
have no time limit, so I'm good. However long you want.
I wanted to find out your advice for newer DMs. You've been in it for, you said, 37 years.
Yeah.
Which is quite a while. There are a lot of people still getting into the game. I'm always telling people we need more DMs because
absolutely.
I'm not sure if you're like me. I'm pretty much always a DM. I play in one game and then I DM everything else because there's just not enough. There's so many players. Absolutely. And not everyone wants to run the games. It could be because it's daunting. I was scared when I started. What was something that you wish you had known when you were first getting started? What was like that advice that you were like, I wish someone had told me that earlier on?
Kind of 2 things, really. The first one is, and this is, I tell every DM this, try to say yes. Right? So if a player says to you, I want to do this, and you say no, you've now just cut off a complete avenue for something really cool to happen. Right. So if you're on board a ship and the guy or girl wants to grab a rope and swing across the ship and stab the guy on the way through, and you're like, no, then the person goes, okay, I move 30 feet and I stab somebody.
Yeah.
And a really cool thing that could have just happened and been awesome is just not there now. Now, I'm not saying you have to make it easy. I mean, failing, it can be just as fun as like succeeding. I try, and my son who's 17 also plays with us, and he gets frustrated like if he can't do everything, right? If he's just not the best at everything, he gets frustrated. But some of his best stories that he still tells are about stupid crap that he did that got us in trouble, Yeah. Like there was one room where he walked in and there was an obvious cage with a red button in it. And of course he went right in there and slapped the red button, and he still tells a story about how he fell through the floor and now he's separated from the party. He was getting attacked, like all sorts of stuff. So, I mean, some of your failures can be just as good as your successes. So I always try to say yes. People laugh because, my statement when people say things is you can certainly try.
Yeah.
Which when I played with the WWE guys, I said quite a bit because Xavier Woods and Ember Moon try and do some crazy crap all the time. But I think one of the other things that's like really handy for new DMs is don't be afraid to steal stuff, right? So you can buy all the modules there are, like Secrets of Saltmarsh and all these things, and just take pieces out of it and throw it into your own world. Like if like I know Secrets of Saltmarsh, the beginning has like a old rickety like haunted house or something like that. If you need a haunted house for your game and you don't want to have time to like write your own thing, pull it out of the Secrets of Saltmarsh book and just use it. Like there's nothing saying you can't do that. And I think that's what in the early days as a DM, I wish I had really understood that. Like, you don't have to play a module from cover to cover
Mm-hmm.
strictly the way it's supposed to be played. Take pieces, alter things as you go, and throw some things in, and you can run a very successful campaign of just stringing one module to the next if you want to, by just planting a few things. Like if you want to start off with Secrets of Salt Marsh and progress into another pre-made module, just put a little hook at the end somewhere that leads you to the next story. But that's something I didn't really know when I was a kid. We didn't understand that. That was not really a thing.
Yeah, wow. That is good advice. That is something I know I kind of struggled with that when I first started, was the idea of, I have to play this module. And at that time, it was just Lost Mine of Phandelver.
Right.
Which I think I've now started that module probably 4 different times.
Probably.
Never got very far. As soon as they saw
Right.
the cart, most of the time they were like, I'm just taking the loot and we're going to town.
Yeah.
Ignored the goblins. We do actually have a question, and this is a really good
sweet.
one.
Good, go.
The question is, how do I make my players more curious? They tend to take things at face value and don't really like to explore. That is a
great question.
So I'll let you just go, and I'll listen to this advice myself.
Well, see, this is one of those things that I'm struggling with right now in my Riverbreak game. I hope my players aren't actually paying attention to this right now. Or maybe I do hope that they are, because maybe they'll like, I've thrown like little hints in everywhere, and they're not picking up on the hints, and I'm like, why are they not picking up on the hints? Like, so the hints are becoming a little more obvious. Like, I let one hint go for a little bit, and then maybe the next episode I give another hint, and then when that one's not going, I kind of pull out the baseball bat and whack them in the head with it. Like, dude, come on. Yeah, that can be really hard. I mean, players who are not curious is difficult. I mean, you can kind of railroad them a little bit for a little while to get them so the game still progresses, right? You can kind of be like, okay, so we're gonna, like, if what you're doing is you're throwing a world at them and you're kind of sandboxing it a little bit, so it's kind of open and they can do what they want, but they're not like they just want to stay in town. They don't ever want to go on a quest. Sometimes you might have to just throw a quest at them, and then hope at some point that you can throw something in there that'll finally hook into them and get them going. I mean, I do like in my Riverbreak game right now, having someone kind of important disappear seems to have worked a little bit to. I don't want to give away story in case anybody wants to go back and watch the other episodes, but I've had like an important person disappear in my Riverbreak game, and so now the players are kind of like they're determined to do something, right? So they kind of have an idea like, okay, we need to go do this, and if I now throw little things at them, they're at least willing to investigate a little bit more. Like, okay, we know the overall goal is to do this. Like, let's just say you had a campaign, rescue the princess, right? You are just rescuing a princess from a tower, but you can't quite get the players to get themselves motivated. You throw the princess at them and be like, okay, so now the princess has been kidnapped and you need to rescue her. And then give them stops along the way where they can maybe pick up some clues on how to do it or where she is, because maybe they don't know where she is. I mean, I think that's probably the better way to kind of get them to start asking questions.
Yeah.
Because it can be hard to get them to ask questions.
That is true. I think, well, maybe you can speak to this. My experience is having to sit down with the players, even one by one. I've had to do this and really put out some questions for their characters. Say, like, what does your character care about? What would, my favorite question is, what would break your character? Right? Find these weaknesses, make them define the weaknesses of their character, and then being able to work those into it. Like, one of my characters, his character's girlfriend was dead, so he thought. I changed that, and then that immediately got him interested, and he's like, I need to find her, we have to do this. Like, that kind of aspect of it. Have you had any experiences like that where maybe just tying in the character's story more blatantly was able to help get them into it?
Yeah, so what I did, yes, so two things on that. I used to, a buddy of mine had a like a character survey he used to send out to his players, which did just that, right? It was like 20 questions or something, and it was things like, what is your character value most in the world? What is your character's family life like? Like what, like that kind of stuff. on that same note, Xanathar's Guide is amazing for rolling up background stuff if you haven't done it
Oh
yet.
yeah.
All the background tables can really help you flesh out a character. My wife and I actually did that for a game where we were both playing. I still tell the story. I still talk about it because I still love it so much. We didn't get to play it for that long, unfortunately. Maybe someday we'll get it back. But I was a half orc and she was a half elf, and we were siblings. Mom was a human prostitute who her two favorite clients, one was an orc and one was an elf, and so we ended up being siblings, like half elf and half orc. But it was because we actually rolled in the Xanathar's Guide, and we both rolled the same number of siblings.
Oh wow.
And the way it ended up, like however many were older and younger, put us like in the same, like we it would fit our family perfectly, so we could be the same family. So it was just kind of funny, like as we were rolling that, we're like, wait a minute, you could be my sister. And she's like, yeah. And so we started talking about it, and that's how we came up with it. But Xanathar's Guide spurned that whole idea, was, and I know a lot of people say, but you're like reading off tables and stuff, and that's true, but a lot of times those random tables give you a really cool idea that you can all of a sudden write a whole bunch of stuff about.
Yeah. It's not necessarily the table, it's the inspiration that comes from the table, I think, is
right.
What is always the more interesting thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then what I did with Riverbreak, one thing that I did was I told them at the beginning of the game, so 8 episodes ago or whatever it was, give me one item that is like your favorite item, right? Like an heirloom of your family or something like that. And then what I did was I eventually they just found out last episode, I think, that all their items became magical.
Oh. So,
and I wrote new magic items based on the weird, because like one person has a bracelet, the one guy, the Drow rogue has a stuffed animal toy of a wolf.
Of course.
And so I like made the wolf, right, something random, right?
Yeah.
I made his stuffed animal, like they all had magical powers. One guy had a ring. Ember Moon, who plays this Minotaur rogue, which is a great combo. Let me tell you, she wanted to
circle back to that. That's interesting.
yeah. She wanted a shovel, so now she has a magic shovel, right? So like weird little items that they came up with, but it was cool because it was something that they thought of, and they were like, oh, and then I kind of got to pull into the game.
Nice.
And that gets them a little more intrigued too, because they're like, oh, cool, so this thing happened and now my item does this thing, and
Yeah. I would like to think also, I like to think that players will have some initiative in just in creating their characters to come up with backstory, but I know as a fact that's not always the case. A lot of times players will show up, they have their character, they have a very basic backstory, usually something tragic. Do you have any tips for DMs to get their players more interested in creating backstory for their characters?
Yeah, I mean, I think coming up with like a questionnaire is a great idea, to send out to your players, or have them use Xanathar's Guide. Like if they really don't have an idea, use Xanathar's Guide and roll up a backstory. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, in one game that I'm playing, which is in my Riverbreak world, I have a few different games going in my Riverbreak world besides the one that I stream. And in one of them, my wife plays the princess of the world. And one of my buddies was playing, and in Xanathar's Guide, he rolled a thing where his character got like petrified for undetermined length of time and then came back. So he was playing my wife's grandmother, but they were the same age.
Right.
So it was kind of cool that grandma was like 27 years old or 25 years old, and the princess was like 23 years old. They were like roughly the same age, but he was actually playing her grandmother, which is kind of funny, so weird stuff like that kind of, again, spurned like this really cool story. And then we kind of fed that into the game world itself. We started to write like maybe her family has a curse that all the women get cursed at some point in time in their life. So like it really spurned a whole cool background thing. And I think for players out there, let me tell you one thing. If you don't come up with it, the DM's going to come up with it for you.
Yeah.
So as Ember just found out in one of our last games, she, for most of our episodes, her character's name was unnamed.
Oh,
she didn't know what her character's name was, and she refused to give me a name, so she got one. She's now Moo Verna. Yes, Moo as in M-U-U, Verna, right. And she's a cow. She's a Minotaur. So you don't come up with your own name. You leave it to the DM, and some weird crap happens.
Don't like it.
So
too happy about that,
right? If you don't come up with it, the DM will, and you may not like what they come up with. So come up with something yourself.
Circling back, you piqued my interest about this Minotaur Rogue, which
Yeah.
just looking at it, that's clearly against type. It's not. It doesn't always make sense, right? I briefly forgot my question. Oh yeah. Obviously, well, I don't know if it's obvious. A lot of DMs I know like to encourage players to roleplay against type in that that kind of situation. What have you ever been in a situation where a player might just refuse to be suboptimal? This is weird. Let me rework this phrasing because I realize as it's halfway out of my mouth, it sounds like a strange question.
Oh, I totally get it.
How do you encourage players to be open to playing against type or being the weird combination?
So I think what people don't really understand is that base combination only really affects you for like 3 or 4 levels. Like, that little minute amount of like +1 or +2 you get for being optimal really only makes a big difference in the first few levels. Once you get past like 5th or 6th level, like that extra +1 you got really doesn't make that big of a deal anymore, right? Because now you've made up for it because you have a magic weapon. Like it doesn't. With Ember, with her Minotaur Rogue, it actually got started because we were texting back and forth, and she was like, okay, I'm thinking about playing a Rogue. And she's like, I'm going to go with either a Drow or a Minotaur. I'm like, go with the Minotaur. That's way cooler, right?
I mean, more interesting.
Right. I mean, there's 50,000 Drow Rogues out there. Why play another one of them? That's, that was like back in the 80s when, Drizzt came out. Everybody wanted to play a damn Drow Ranger with 2 scimitars and a panther. Like everybody I knew wanted to play that character. So I'm like, everybody's played the Drow Rogue a million times. Go with the Minotaur. And it's been a blast. I mean, it's been a lot of fun because she just and she plays a rogue not like a rogue, which is even more funny because she runs into things with her head like the whole game. I don't know if I don't even know if she's even used a weapon once. She just gores things with her horns, which I find to be hilarious. So it's been kind of funny.
That could be funny. Is this one of the subclasses that you guys are making yourselves?
No, she's actually playing she's playing, I think she's an assassin. No. She's playing the subclass for the rogue in the UA. It's the undead one.
Oh,
right. It's on Unearthed Arcana. It's kind of like gives them like an undead feel. They have like a couple of small powers that have to do with like being undead kind of a thing.
Oh, okay.
So that's actually what she's playing.
I'm not too familiar with that yet. I normally I do a bunch of series on different classes and the subclasses. Right now I'm working through monks, but rogue I haven't got to yet. So
nice.
I'm curious about that one. Because I play rogue.
Yeah, it's neat. It's a pretty neat one so far. But I mean, I think I suggest everybody play something different. Like, I know part of what burnt me out on 3rd edition D&D, or 3.5 at the time, right towards the end of 3.5, my friends went to like Gen Con, I think it was, and they sat down at a table to play D&D with some people. It was a guy and a girl, and they played their characters, which were whatever their characters were. And the people playing around them were 4 Gnoll barbarians. Random happenstance. They weren't all friends or anything.
Oh.
But they were all Gnoll barbarians because that was like an optimal build.
Right.
There was like certain feats you could take and stuff, which made them really cool and really gross, apparently. And so everybody was playing that. And that's kind of when I got turned off to 3rd edition. I was kind of like, ew, like, why are we doing that? Like, what happened to the... and people say this all the time. You see online all the time. People are like, what's the best race to play for a ranger? Well, what race do you want to play? What would be cool? That's the best race. Whatever you're going to enjoy more, like have fun with it. Like I've had more fun with mountain dwarf wizards than I have almost anything because the cool thing, mountain dwarfs can wear armor. So you can make like a melee wizard running around wearing medium armor at first level. So I've had wizards running around with chainmail and like a sword doing green flame blades and shocking grasps because they could, right? I mean, it was just something totally wacky and different that people don't normally do, but why not try it just to be cool and different,
Yeah, that's interesting. That gives me an idea for a type of video of exploring the weird me
too. That's a good idea.
Kind of things. I always do a video about optimized because people want to know, the best. So I do like, here's an optimized build.
Right.
But that might be fun. It's just like, here's a weird one.
Yeah. In those characters that my wife and I made where we were the siblings, I was a half-orc wizard. Okay. Not optimal,
No,
not optimal for a
not at
wizard,
all.
but it was fun. It was a good
Mhm.
time. It was a fun character to play. The little bit that we got to play it, it was a really good time.
Yeah, that sounds great. And I also like the idea of I'm gonna have to look in more into the Xanathars thing. Using these tables, I'm starting to think put that on the list of like to-dos at a session 0. You sit down with your
Absolutely.
players, you roll up your ability scores. Some people might have ideas, but then you say, okay, let's come up with your backstories if you don't already. Give them
Right.
Xanathars a guide, roll it up.
Because I am telling you, yeah, the Xanathar's guide, like I was against it at first too, because I'm always kind of like, no, I can create way better than anything that I can get out of a random table,
Yeah.
all snooty about it. But then we were like, you know what, for the hell of it, let's just do it. Why not? Let's see what this thing is,
Mhm.
And then I was like, wow, this actually is really cool. Like it sparked so many cool ideas and so much story. Like I end up with like a 2-page background on this half-orc wizard, all based off of the Xanathar's guide of just of the random crap that I rolled of how to make it work and how to make, how to tie things together. And I thought it was pretty great after I did it. So I highly encourage it. I think it's kind of cool. I really wish D&D Beyond, which I use all the time, would put those options in there.
Oh yeah,
For your
don't,
character.
huh?
They don't have them there. I really wish that they would just put them in there so you could go through Xanathar's guide for your background and have it roll things and stuff for you.
Yeah, that'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, I'll have to write it to them and ask. Or if they watch this, if anybody happens to see this and you work for D&D Beyond, guys, get on it. Let's go.
That would
Come on.
be a nice treat.
Yeah, I think that would be way cool.
You could also post on the forums.
Well, that's true.
That's not the bad idea.
I have an inside person too, so maybe I should.
Well, there you go.
I should just email him and say like, hey, they're actually one of our sponsors on our stream. So on my Riverbreak stream, we give away every stream. We give away a digital Eberron book at this point.
Oh, nice.
For anybody, for those watching, we give away those, and we also have other stuff that we give away from various sponsors for our stream. So there's always giveaways on our stream. Come and watch it.
Yeah. So we're gonna wrap it up. So you got Riverbreak Wednesday, and this week you guys are back, right?
Yes.
Wednesday.
Yep, this Wednesday we're
1
back.
p.m. Eastern time.
Eastern Standard Time, correct.
Which is 10 a.m. Pacific.
Pacific, correct, yes.
So it's a big time gap, but
it is.
What else are you doing? If you're in California, at least, you're
at 10 o'clock.
supposed to stay home.
Right, especially now. You're supposed to stay home, so.
So watch Riverbreak. Maybe
yeah, absolutely.
Win, right?
That is true. That's true.
That's kind of cool. I'm gonna check it out. I will admit I haven't checked out Riverbreak. I'll check it out.
Yeah, we stream for 4 hours.
But I'll try it to win.
Yeah, we stream for 4 hours a day, 4 hours on the Wednesdays when we stream. So it's a good little clip. But guys you get a lot of good role playing and crazy crap going on. We try and keep it PG-13.
Right.
So there's only one F-bomb drop per episode. We count it. So if someone drops an F-bomb, we're like, hey, that's it for the day.
That's fun. That's pretty cool.
We could probably do some OTB betting on who's going to be the first person to drop the F-bomb. Let me give you a hint. It's probably Ember Moon.
Okay. I'll keep that in mind. I'll put $10 on that.
Yeah.
For Wednesday. Then you got your YouTube channel. What kind of content do you make on your YouTube channel?
I'm trying to go through and put some stuff up there. Like I do some like reviews of board games or box openings of board games, or even just stuff like if I get something cool, some sort of like accessory for D&D that I like, I try and do a video on it. And board games, and then I have been doing a lot of things like I do a bunch on D&D Beyond. I went through and did like, here's how you create a character, here's how you create your own spell, here's how you create your own magic item, here's how to create an encounter, here's how to use the combat tracker in the encounters. Just because I like it, I find D&D Beyond to be very helpful. And I know some people sometimes maybe don't have time to sit around and twiddle with it and figure it out. Yeah. I'm probably going to do a stream this week on Hero Forge because I just got access to the color minis.
Oh, nice.
So I'm probably going to do a video showing you how to create a color mini on Hero Forge, which I have a color mini from Hero Forge. I was lucky enough to be one of the people to get one ahead of time.
Nice.
So let me tell you, they're awesome.
So they're as good as they look in the picture?
Oh, yeah, they look great. And if you're not a very big painter, for like an extra $10, it's so worth just getting it printed in color. It's so good.
I'll check that out because I was skeptical. Like I do paint minis, but I was very skeptical seeing it. I was like, what? How?
No, they look pretty darn good. I mean, they're not as vivid as paint is,
Mm-hmm.
So, you're not going to get maybe as quite the brightness as you would with a paint,
Mm-hmm.
but the color is really good, and the what's it? Not like a fade. Is that what it's called?
Yeah, the fade
Where you
where
do
it goes
a
from one
trans.
color to another.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. You people in the digital world that do digital art have. I'm not an artist, so I don't know. But yeah, like a fade from one color to the next looks really good. I mean, it looks their color mains look really really great. So that's probably a video I'm doing next. And like I said, I want to do those videos of making archetypes
Nice.
for my Riverbreak world. So I'm probably going to get on those in the next week or so. I was going to find people like you who might want to come on my stream and do something like that.
Absolutely.
So,
yeah.
yeah.
So anyone watching this, if you haven't, check out Arthur's YouTube channel. The link is in the description there. Arthur, thank you for coming on to the show.
Thank you.
Being my guinea pig today. I think
I don't
think
mind.
it turned out all right.
I think
we
it
will
did.
see what the public say about it.
Yeah.
But I appreciate it. We'll have to have you on again after I get some of the bugs ironed out.
Absolutely.
Because I intend to keep this going as long as possible.
Awesome. Well, if you get desperate and you need you need a person, get in touch. I'll jump in and help you out.
Sounds great. With that, viewers, subscribe to Arthur's channel, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and thank you all for watching.